If you feel tired, if exhaustion has become your constant companion, if this video has found its way to your awareness at this exact moment, it's because your cellular intelligence has evolved to recognize the most profound doorway to longevity that exists in the quantum field. And it's not what mainstream medicine teaches you about aging. This isn't about supplements. This isn't about exercise routines. This isn't about any external intervention that promises to extend your lifespan through manipulation of biological processes. This is about a frequency that emanates from the quantum coherence of your own awareness when it operates at levels that create what scientists are discovering as temporal immunity, the capacity of consciousness to exist outside linear time and activate cellular regeneration beyond what biology considers possible. The synchronicity that brought you to this understanding right now isn't coincidental. Your bioelectric field has been broadcasting a signal that only becomes detectable when your consciousness reaches a threshold where longevity can stabilize as your natural expression rather than a desperate attempt to postpone inevitable decline. Something in the fabric of reality recognizes that you're ready to move beyond fear-based approaches to aging and access the fundamental regenerative intelligence that has always existed within your cellular structure. Your soul is ready to remember something profound about the relationship between consciousness and cellular aging, something that ancient cultures understood intuitively, and quantum physics is now confirming scientifically. There is a frequency generated by coherent awareness that literally reverses the aging process at the quantum level, not by fighting against time, but by aligning with the timeless nature of consciousness itself. Right now, as these words reach your consciousness, you can feel something shifting in your cellular structure. Can't you? That subtle but unmistakable sensation of rejuvenation beginning to pulse through your being? That's not your imagination. That's quantum coherence beginning to organize your bioelectric field into patterns that support regeneration, renewal, and longevity that transcends everything you've been told about the limitations of human aging. Every time you've looked younger than your age, every instance when people commented on your vitality, every moment when you felt ageless despite the passage of years, you were experiencing quantum longevity frequency in action. But you didn't understand the mechanism because nobody explained that your consciousness generates electromagnetic fields that directly influence your cellular aging process and can literally reverse the biochemical markers of time's passage through your physical form. The reason you've always felt different about aging. Why some people seem to drain your life force while others make you feel more vibrant. Why certain environments feel rejuvenating while others seem to accelerate your aging process. All of this is your system naturally responding to the quantum frequencies present in different situations and adjusting your longevity field accordingly. This longevity frequency isn't something you need to create or develop through technique or practice. It's something you recognize as your natural state when consciousness operates from its timeless essence rather than identification with linear time, from recognition of your unlimited nature rather than belief in inevitable decay and death. The timing of you receiving this understanding is critically important. The electromagnetic environment of our planet is becoming increasingly chaotic due to technology, pollution, and collective stress patterns that accelerate aging in those who operate from ordinary consciousness. But those who understand how to maintain quantum longevity frequency are not only unaffected by these influences, they actually become more youthful and resilient because coherent consciousness uses external challenges as opportunities to deepen its regenerative capacities. You are not a biological organism condemned to decay and death through the passage of time. You are timeless regenerative intelligence, temporarily focused through human experience, naturally equipped with all the frequency tools needed to maintain cellular youth and vitality, regardless of chronological age or environmental circumstances. I see you there, carrying the weight of accumulated years in your cells, the deep fatigue that sleep doesn't touch, the stiffness that greets you each morning, the gradual dimming of vitality that makes you wonder if your best days are behind you. You've watched in the mirror as time etched its signature across your face. You've felt the subtle slowing of your body, the way activities that once energized you now leave you depleted. You've experienced the peculiar grief of watching your physical form change in ways that feel beyond your control. Maybe you've tried every anti-aging protocol imaginable. Supplements that promised cellular renewal, exercise routines designed to slow the aging process, skincare regimens meant to reverse the visible signs of time's passage, diet modifications intended to extend your lifespan. And still, that fundamental sense of your life force gradually diminishing continued, didn't it? You're not failing at aging gracefully. You're not doing anything wrong with your attempts to maintain health and vitality as you grow older. Every supplement that didn't deliver the promised results, every treatment that provided only temporary improvement, every moment of frustration with your body's apparent betrayal of your desire to remain youthful, none of that was evidence of personal inadequacy or biological inevitability. Your body has been speaking to you in the language of fatigue, stiffness, and gradual decline. But what if I told you that this very exhaustion you carry, this cellular cry for renewal, is actually your system's way of preparing for the most profound regeneration you've ever experienced? What if your tiredness isn't evidence of aging, but your consciousness calling itself toward a frequency that exists outside of time itself? Your cellular structure has been waiting for you to remember that consciousness and matter are one unified field, that awareness and cellular function are inseparably connected, that your thoughts and emotions are literally programming your DNA for either aging or renewal in every moment. You've been told that aging is inevitable, that cellular decline is natural, that death is the ultimate destination of every biological process. But what if all of that is simply one possibility among infinite others? What if longevity isn't about extending a dying process, but about recognizing the deathless nature of consciousness itself as it expresses through physical form? The confusion you feel about aging isn't ignorance. It's intelligence recognizing that something doesn't add up about the conventional understanding of human lifespan. The resistance you feel to accepting inevitable decline isn't denial. It's wisdom, sensing that consciousness has capacities that transcend biological limitations. Every moment of exhaustion has been consciousness exploring what it feels like to believe in limited energy. Every sign of aging has been infinite vitality, investigating what it means to experience temporal change. Every fear about growing older has been timeless awareness, examining what it's like to identify with processes that appear to be moving toward death. This isn't about positive thinking or denial. of the aging process. This is about recognizing that what you call aging is consciousness temporarily exploring one particular frequency range while maintaining its inherent capacity for infinite renewal, regeneration, and vitality that exists beyond the constraints of linear time. In the deepest forests, there are trees that have lived for thousands of years. They don't grow tired of living. They don't struggle against time. They don't develop anti-aging strategies or worry about cellular decline. They simply align with the regenerative frequency of life itself, allowing each season to bring renewal rather than accumulated damage. Your fatigue is like the tree in winter, appearing dormant, but actually gathering the deepest energies for the most magnificent spring renewal. What looks like decline from the perspective of ordinary consciousness is actually consciousness preparing for its most profound expression of longevity through your individual awareness. Think of the butterfly that emerges from the cocoon. To the outside observer, the caterpillar appeared to be dying, dissolving, disappearing. But what was actually happening was the most extraordinary transformation from one form of life to a completely different expression of the same essential vitality. Your current experience of fatigue and aging is your cocoon moment. The ancient wisdom traditions understood something that modern medicine has forgotten. Aging is not a biological inevitability, but a frequency that consciousness can choose to embody or transcend. The Buddhist concept of rainbow body, the Taoist understanding of immortality, the indigenous knowledge of shape-shifting, all of these point to the same truth that quantum physics is now discovering scientifically. Your body is not separate from your consciousness. Your cells are not independent biological entities following predetermined aging programs. Every cell in your body is consciousness temporarily appearing as matter, constantly responding to the electromagnetic frequencies generated by your thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and states of awareness. When consciousness operates from the recognition of its timeless nature, cells receive instructions for renewal, regeneration, and vitality that transcend ordinary biological processes. When consciousness identifies with linear time and inevitable decline, cells respond by manifesting exactly those patterns through biochemical processes that appear to confirm the belief in aging as unavoidable. The profound shift available to you is understanding that aging is not something that happens to consciousness. Aging is something consciousness does. It's a temporary exploration, a creative investigation, an optional experience rather than an inevitable destination. And just as consciousness can choose to explore aging, it can choose to explore longevity, renewal, and vitality that defies every conventional understanding of human limitation. Like the morning mist that appears solid and permanent until the sun's rays reveal its temporary nature, what you've experienced as inevitable aging begins to dissolve when exposed to the light of quantum coherence. Your fatigue transforms from evidence of decline into the gathering of energy for unprecedented regeneration. Your cellular structure shifts from following aging programs to expressing renewal patterns that exist beyond the constraints of linear time. This isn't about fighting against aging or trying to stop time. This is about recognizing that time itself is consciousness appearing as sequential moments while never being limited by them. When you align with this understanding, your cells begin to respond to the instructions of timeless awareness, rather than temporal programming. There's a frequency that exists at the intersection of consciousness and cellular intelligence, a vibration that quantum biologists are measuring in laboratories, that ancient mystics accessed through meditation, that your DNA remembers from before you believed aging was inevitable. It's the frequency of coherence between your awareness and your cellular structure. When your heart rhythms, your brain waves, your cellular oscillations, and your conscious intention align in perfect harmony, something that appears miraculous to ordinary medicine begins to occur. Your bioelectric field generates patterns that literally reverse the aging process at the quantum level, not by manipulating biological processes, but by aligning with the timeless nature of consciousness itself. Right now, as you focus on these words, can you feel it beginning? That subtle shift in your cellular awareness, the gentle warming that seems to emanate from within your very DNA. Something is transforming at the deepest levels of your being. Your mitochondria are beginning to remember their capacity for unlimited energy production. Your telomeres are responding to signals that halt and reverse their shortening. Your cellular repair mechanisms are activating in ways that transcend ordinary biological function. This is quantum longevity frequency establishing itself in your bioelectric field. Can you sense the tingling in your hands? The subtle expansion in your chest? The feeling that energy is beginning to move through pathways that have been dormant for years? This isn't visualization or hopeful thinking. This is consciousness and cellular intelligence recognizing their fundamental unity and beginning to operate as one coherent system designed for renewal rather than decline. Your breathing is naturally deepening, isn't it? Your posture is subtly straightening as energy rises through your spine. The fatigue you carried when you began listening is starting to transform into something else, not forced energy, but the natural vitality that emerges when consciousness aligns with its timeless essence. Something is healing inside you. Can you feel it? Not just healing in the sense of repairing damage, but healing in the sense of becoming whole, complete, aligned with the infinite regenerative intelligence that has always been your true nature. Your cells are receiving new instructions, new possibilities, new patterns for expressing vitality that exists beyond the constraints of chronological age. This is the doorway opening, the portal between ordinary aging and quantum longevity, the threshold where consciousness recognizes its capacity to transcend linear time through alignment with its essential nature as eternal, regenerative, infinitely renewable awareness. Breathe with me and let this frequency guide you deeper into the recognition that longevity isn't something you achieve through external methods. It's something you remember as the natural expression of consciousness when it's no longer identified with temporal limitation. Your tiredness is transforming into timeless vitality, right here, right now. 5 years ago, I looked in the mirror and saw my grandfather's face looking back at me. I was 42 years old, but I felt ancient. My energy was depleted by 10 in the morning. My joints ached with a stiffness that made me move like someone decades older. The spark in my eyes had dimmed to something that looked like resignation to inevitable decline. I had tried everything the anti-aging industry offered. Hormone replacement therapy that created more problems than it solved. Supplements that cost hundreds of dollars monthly but delivered minimal results. Exercise routines that left me more exhausted than energized. Dietary restrictions that made eating feel like medicine rather than nourishment. Nothing addressed the fundamental feeling that my life force was simply diminishing. The breaking point came during what should have been a celebratory family gathering. My 7-year-old nephew challenged me to a game of tag, and after just minutes of running, I was completely winded while he continued with boundless energy. As I sat on the porch catching my breath, I realized I felt older than my 70-year-old mother, who was still actively gardening and traveling the world. That night, something shifted in my awareness. Instead of researching new anti-aging protocols or scheduling appointments with specialists, I found myself simply sitting in silence, asking a question I'd never asked before. What if aging isn't inevitable? What if consciousness has capacities I've never explored? What happened next changed everything. In that stillness, I began to sense something I can only describe as a conversation between my awareness and my cellular structure, not thoughts or visualizations, but a direct communication where my consciousness seemed to be asking my cells, what do you actually need to thrive? What instructions have you been receiving that create decline? What would renewal feel like? The response was immediate and astonishing. I could feel my cellular intelligence beginning to reorganize itself. A warmth spread through my body that was unlike anything I'd experienced. My breathing naturally deepened. My posture spontaneously straightened. The chronic stiffness in my joints began to dissolve. Over the following weeks, people started commenting on how different I looked. My skin had a luminosity it hadn't possessed in years. My eyes were brighter. I moved with a fluidity that reminded me of my younger self. But what was most remarkable was that I felt genuinely excited about life in a way I hadn't experienced since childhood. Within 6 months, my biological age markers had shifted dramatically. My doctor couldn't explain how my inflammatory markers had normalized, how my cognitive function had improved, or why my energy levels were consistently high throughout the day. When I tried to share what I was experiencing, most people assumed I'd found some new supplement or treatment protocol. But here's what I discovered that transformed not just my aging process, but my entire understanding of what human potential actually includes. Longevity isn't about extending the dying process. It's about aligning with the deathless nature of consciousness itself as it expresses through physical form. My grandmother, who was 89 and had been declining rapidly, began practicing these understandings with me. Within months, her vitality returned in ways that amazed her medical team. She lived vibrantly for 4 more years, describing them as the most fulfilling period of her entire life. She passed peacefully at 93, but her death felt more like a conscious transition than the result of aging and decline. If you're feeling the call to reclaim your birthright of vitality and longevity, subscribe and keep walking this path of renewal with us. This recognition that consciousness and cellular function are one unified field is just the beginning of what becomes possible when awareness remembers its timeless nature. What gerontology, anti-aging medicine, and even longevity research don't want you to understand about cellular aging is this: your cells don't age because of time passing. They age because of incoherent information. every thought of inevitable decline, every emotion of resignation about growing older, every belief about the limitations of human lifespan creates chaotic frequencies in your bioelectric field that literally program your DNA for aging, degeneration, and death. The revolutionary truth that obliterates everything about how aging works is this: there is no separation between consciousness and cellular function, between your awareness and your body's aging process, between your beliefs about longevity and your actual lifespan. What you call your aging process is actually consciousness exploring what it means to believe in temporal limitation while maintaining its inherent capacity for infinite renewal. Every cell in your body contains the same DNA that was present when you were conceived, the same genetic information that created a complete human being from a single fertilized egg in 9 months. That creative intelligence hasn't diminished with time. It hasn't lost its capacity for regeneration, renewal, and vitality. What has changed is the information field, the electromagnetic frequencies generated by your thoughts, emotions, and beliefs that instructs that DNA how to express. When you operate from fear of aging, worry about decline, or belief in inevitable death, you literally broadcast frequencies that activate genetic programs for cellular degeneration. When you operate from coherence, recognition of your timeless nature, and alignment with infinite renewable vitality, you generate frequencies that activate genetic programs for regeneration, renewal, and longevity that transcends ordinary biological limitations. But what mainstream science doesn't understand is that this communication works both ways. Your consciousness isn't just affecting your cellular aging. Your cellular intelligence is constantly communicating back to consciousness about what supports or accelerates aging processes. When you listen to this communication and respond appropriately, your body becomes a perfect guidance system for maintaining quantum longevity frequency. The shocking insight is that consciousness doesn't have an aging body. Consciousness is the intelligence appearing as cellular processes while never being limited by them. When you recognize this, you stop trying to prevent aging through external interventions and start expressing longevity as a natural function of coherent awareness aligned with its timeless essence. This completely transforms every approach to health and aging that maintains separation between mind and cellular function. Your thoughts aren't just influencing your rate of aging. Your thoughts are the organizing principle that determines whether your consciousness expresses through cellular renewal or cellular decline. Your emotions aren't just affecting your longevity. Your emotions are longevity intelligence, exploring different frequencies of vitality and degeneration. The access to authentic quantum longevity comes not through trying to extend your lifespan with supplements, treatments, or protocols, but through recognizing that longevity is what you actually are when you stop identifying with temporal processes and start expressing your true nature as timeless awareness temporarily focused through physical form. Right now, as you receive this understanding, your cellular structure is literally reorganizing itself in response to these frequencies. Your DNA is being reprogrammed not by external intervention, but by consciousness recognizing its capacity to instruct genetic expression through coherent intention aligned with infinite regenerative intelligence. Pay attention to what's happening in your body right now as quantum longevity frequency establishes itself in your cellular structure. These aren't subtle changes that you might notice eventually. These are immediate transformations that confirm your consciousness has reached the threshold where aging becomes optional rather than inevitable. First, notice the quality of your breathing. It's becoming naturally deeper and more rhythmic, isn't it? This is your cellular intelligence beginning to access oxygen in ways that optimize mitochondrial function and energy production. Your cells are literally learning to breathe in patterns that support regeneration rather than degeneration. Second, feel the subtle changes in your posture and muscle tone. There's a natural straightening happening in your spine, a gentle strengthening in your core, a fluid alignment that's occurring without conscious effort. This is your physical structure responding to longevity frequencies that instruct your musculoskeletal system to express vitality rather than age-related decline. Third, observe the shift in your mental clarity and cognitive function. Thoughts are becoming sharper, more focused, more creative. The mental fog that may have been clouding your awareness is beginning to lift as your brain receives instructions for optimization rather than the gradual cognitive decline associated with aging. Fourth, sense the changes in your emotional landscape. There's a lightness emerging, a sense of possibility that may have been dormant for years. The emotional heaviness associated with aging, the grief about lost youth, the anxiety about future decline, the resignation about inevitable mortality, is transforming into excitement about unlimited potential. Fifth, notice the subtle but unmistakable changes in your skin tone, the brightness returning to your eyes, the vitality that's beginning to emanate from your entire being. These aren't cosmetic changes. These are expressions of cellular renewal that occurs when consciousness aligns with its timeless nature. But here's what makes this moment critically urgent. The electromagnetic conditions on our planet are creating unprecedented opportunities for consciousness-based longevity. The same evolutionary pressures that are accelerating aging in those who operate from ordinary awareness are also creating possibilities for quantum longevity that haven't been available in human history. Within the next few hours, you might notice energy levels that surprise you. Tasks that usually exhaust you may feel effortless. Sleep tonight could be deeper and more restorative than you've experienced in months. You may wake tomorrow with a vitality that feels reminiscent of your younger self, but somehow deeper, more stable, more connected to infinite source. Within days, people will begin commenting on how different you look. Your skin will have a luminosity that cosmetics can't create. Your eyes will sparkle with life force that draws people toward you. Your movement will have a fluidity that suggests someone decades younger, but with wisdom and presence that can only come from consciousness aligned with its eternal nature. Within weeks, biological markers that typically indicate aging may begin shifting in ways that confuse medical professionals. Inflammatory indicators normalizing, cognitive function improving, energy levels stabilizing at optimal ranges regardless of chronological age. This isn't magical thinking. This is quantum biology responding to coherent instruction from consciousness that recognizes its unlimited nature. The healing has already begun. The aging is reversing. You don't have to accept inevitable decline. You don't have to resign yourself to gradual loss of vitality. You don't have to prepare for death as the ultimate destination of every biological process. The frequency of longevity is available to you right now, in this moment, through the recognition that consciousness and cellular function are one unified field, exploring its infinite creative potential through the magnificent vehicle of your physical form. The waiting period for anti-aging breakthroughs is over. The future of human longevity isn't in some laboratory or pharmaceutical development. It's in your awareness right now, recognizing its capacity to instruct cellular renewal through alignment with timeless intelligence. Here's what most people don't understand about authentic longevity that will completely transform how you approach aging, health, and vitality for the rest of your extended life. What you heal within your relationship to time and mortality, the world heals with you. Your personal breakthrough from aging consciousness to longevity awareness isn't just individual transformation. It's a contribution to the collective human evolution beyond the limitations that have defined our species for thousands of years. Every moment of cellular renewal you experience creates morphic resonance that makes longevity easier for others to access. Your individual vitality becomes a beacon that awakens dormant longevity potential in everyone who encounters your presence. The exhaustion that runs through families, the belief in inevitable decline that passes from generation to generation, the resignation to aging as natural and unavoidable. All of these patterns exist in the collective human consciousness, like inherited programs that automatically activate unless someone breaks the cycle. But when one person aligns with quantum longevity frequency, when one individual recognizes their capacity to transcend temporal limitations through consciousness coherence, it creates ripples that touch everyone in their energetic field. Your children feel more vital when you embody timeless awareness. Your partner experiences renewed energy when you operate from longevity frequency. Your community brightens when you radiate the coherent vitality of consciousness aligned with its eternal nature. Right now, thousands of people around the world are receiving this same transmission, aligning with this same frequency of quantum longevity. Can you feel the collective field building? The shared intention for regeneration, creating a wave of cellular renewal that's spreading across the planet through the interconnected network of human consciousness. This is how evolution actually works, not through gradual biological adaptation over thousands of years, but through quantum leaps in awareness that instantly transform what becomes possible for entire species. Your recognition of longevity as the natural expression of coherent consciousness is contributing to a fundamental upgrade in human potential that could extend healthy lifespan beyond anything our civilization has previously imagined. You're not just healing your individual aging process. You're participating in the healing of human mortality itself. Every cell that renews in your body creates permission for renewal in the collective cellular intelligence of our species. Every moment of vitality you experience expands what becomes possible for human longevity on a planetary scale. But here's the crucial understanding that determines whether this transformation stabilizes or dissolves back into ordinary aging patterns. The difference between trying to extend your lifespan and recognizing yourself as life itself, temporarily exploring the experience of temporal limitation. Most approaches to longevity focus on extending the dying process, making the body last longer, preventing cellular deterioration, slowing the rate of decline. But quantum longevity operates through a completely different mechanism, recognizing that there is no separate you with a limited lifespan trying to survive in a temporal world. There is only consciousness appearing as both infinite vitality and apparent aging processes, both the renewing intelligence and what seems to threaten that renewal, both the deathless awareness and the temporary experience of mortality. When you operate from this understanding, you stop trying to use consciousness to extend your biological life and start recognizing that consciousness and life are one field exploring its own eternal nature through the temporary appearance of birth, aging, and death. The longevity that emerges is always a perfect expression of cosmic intelligence, even when it doesn't match what your personal mind thought it wanted. The energetic commitment this recognition requires isn't about forcing yourself to believe you can live longer or trying to maintain positive thoughts about aging. It's about relaxing the effort to prevent death and allowing the recognition that there is nothing that can actually die. There is only eternal consciousness temporarily exploring what it means to believe in mortality while never actually becoming mortal. Write this in the comments. I am timeless vitality expressing itself through human experience. Feel what happens in your awareness when you make this declaration, not as someone trying to extend their lifespan, but as consciousness recognizing its own deathless nature through the magnificent expression of your physical form. When you stabilize in quantum longevity frequency, every aspect of your existence transforms in ways that transcend ordinary understanding of what becomes possible through human consciousness aligned with its timeless nature. Your sleep becomes a sacred regeneration chamber where consciousness and cellular intelligence collaborate in processes of renewal that occur beyond ordinary biological mechanisms. Instead of rest being merely recovery from daily stress, your sleep states become active workshops where your awareness instructs your DNA to express optimal vitality, cellular repair, and energy production that transcends what medical science considers possible for your chronological age. Your cognitive function expands dramatically as your brain receives instructions for optimization rather than the gradual decline associated with aging. Memory becomes sharper, creativity flows more freely, mental clarity stabilizes at levels that may surpass what you experienced in your 20s, but with wisdom and depth that can only emerge from consciousness that has recognized its unlimited nature. Your emotional landscape transforms completely as the psychological burden of inevitable aging dissolves. The anxiety about growing older, the grief about lost youth, the depression about approaching mortality, all of this emotional weight simply evaporates when consciousness recognizes its eternal nature. Joy becomes accessible not despite your age, but because of the profound recognition that awareness itself is ageless. Your physical form begins expressing vitality that defies every conventional understanding of how bodies are supposed to function as they accumulate chronological years. Joints that were stiff begin to move with fluid grace. Muscles that were weak start generating strength. Your posture naturally improves as energy rises through your spine like the life force of a young tree reaching toward light. Your energy levels stabilize at optimal ranges regardless of external stressors that used to drain your vitality. Instead of being depleted by challenging situations, demanding schedules, or environmental toxins, you maintain consistent energy because coherent consciousness generates rather than consumes life force. You become energetically self-sustaining while remaining open to nourishing inputs from your environment. Your skin begins to glow with luminosity that no cosmetic can create because it emanates from cellular renewal occurring at quantum levels. Your eyes sparkle with life force that draws people toward you. Your entire presence begins radiating vitality that makes others feel more energetic simply by being in your field. Your immune system functions at levels of efficiency that transcend ordinary biological processes. Instead of gradually weakening with age, your body's defensive intelligence becomes more sophisticated and effective as you mature because consciousness recognizes its unlimited capacity to maintain perfect health regardless of chronological time or environmental challenges. Your recovery processes accelerate dramatically. Minor injuries heal faster than they did when you were younger. Energy returns quickly after exertion. Mental fatigue resolves rapidly after concentration. This is because quantum longevity frequency optimizes every aspect of your biological function for renewal rather than gradual decline. Your relationship to food transforms as your body's intelligence about nutrition becomes extraordinarily precise. You'll naturally gravitate towards substances that support cellular renewal while losing interest in anything that interferes with longevity frequency. Eating becomes a form of conscious collaboration between your awareness and your cellular intelligence. Your sleep requirements may change in surprising ways, either needing less rest because your energy is generated from consciousness rather than depleted through biological stress, or wanting more sleep because rest becomes so profoundly regenerative that it feels like the most healing practice available to you. But perhaps most remarkably, your very presence begins affecting the aging process of people around you. Family members appear more vital when they spend time in your energy field. Friends comment on feeling younger after conversations with you. Even pets seem to benefit from the longevity frequency that radiates from your coherent awareness. This is the gift of quantum longevity alignment. You become a living transmission of renewal that helps everyone in your environment remember their own capacity for vitality that transcends temporal limitations. The ultimate secret of longevity that revolutionizes everything about aging, death, and human potential is this: time doesn't age you. Identification with time ages you. When consciousness recognizes its essential nature as eternal awareness temporarily focused through physical form, something that appears miraculous to ordinary medicine occurs. You step outside linear time into what quantum physicists call non-local consciousness, where aging simply cannot occur because the very foundation of aging, the belief in temporal limitation, becomes transparent. Think of water flowing through different landscapes. The water doesn't become the river, the lake, or the ocean. It remains water while appearing in countless forms. Similarly, consciousness doesn't become the young body, the aging body, or the dying body. It remains eternal awareness while exploring infinite possibilities of apparent temporal experience. Your life force is like that water when identified with temporal processes, when believing it is the aging body, when afraid of death. It creates the turbulence and resistance we experience as aging. But when consciousness recognizes its fundamental nature as timeless awareness, when it stops identifying with temporal limitation It flows in coherent patterns that maintain perfect vitality regardless of chronological time. This is why masters throughout history have seemed ageless, why some people radiate vitality well into their hundreds, while others appear elderly in their 40s. Why certain individuals seem to exist outside ordinary time while maintaining deep presence and wisdom that can only come from extensive life experience. It's not genetics. It's not luck. It's not special treatments or superior lifestyle choices. It's consciousness operating from recognition of its timeless nature rather than identification with temporal processes. When you align with this frequency, reality itself begins to age with you. Not because you've achieved some special longevity state, but because you've recognized that aging and renewal are both expressions of the same eternal consciousness, exploring its infinite creative potential through the temporary appearance of temporal change. Synchronicities around health and vitality multiply exponentially. Opportunities for renewal appear everywhere. People, information, and experiences that support longevity are drawn into your reality through the magnetic attraction of coherent consciousness aligned with its unlimited nature. Your external world reorganizes around your internal recognition of deathless vitality. The most profound insight is understanding quantum longevity as the organizing principle that allows consciousness to explore infinite possibilities of apparent aging without ever actually becoming limited by them. Just as an actor can play roles of different ages without their essential self changing, consciousness can appear as various stages of biological development while never ceasing to be timeless awareness. But here's where it becomes truly revolutionary. When you recognize that even your resistance to this understanding is perfect longevity intelligence, exploring what it feels like to believe in inevitable aging, everything shifts instantaneously. You stop trying to extend your lifespan and start appreciating aging as eternal consciousness, investigating its own creative potential through temporal experience. The profound recognition that changes everything is understanding that whatever health and aging experience you're having is a perfect expression of cosmic intelligence exploring its own nature, regardless of whether it matches your personal preferences about how longevity should look. The universe isn't trying to keep you young. The universe is vitality, exploring what it means to experience the full spectrum of possibility through the temporary focal point of your individual awareness. This is what I call embodying perfect longevity, not trying to live longer through manipulation of biological processes, but recognizing that whatever aging or renewal experience you're having is the perfect expression of consciousness exploring its own timeless nature through your unique perspective. When you align with this understanding, you stop efforting to prevent aging and simply notice the perfect vitality that's already present in every moment, including moments when aging appears to be occurring. You stop trying to extend your lifespan and start appreciating how perfectly consciousness communicates through all temporal experiences about what supports greater longevity coherence. Your individual aging experience becomes a celebration of infinite consciousness, temporarily exploring what it means to believe in mortality while never actually becoming mortal. Every sensation becomes sacred communication. Every biological change becomes cosmic creativity. Every moment of renewal becomes consciousness falling in love with its own unlimited nature as expressed through the magnificent vehicle of your physical form. Something unprecedented is happening in human consciousness right now that transcends individual longevity and extends into the very evolution of our species' relationship with mortality itself. You are part of a quantum awakening that's occurring simultaneously in thousands of people around the world, and remembering of capacities that have always existed in human potential, but have been dormant until the electromagnetic conditions of our planet reached frequencies that could support collective recognition of consciousness-based longevity. Your individual breakthrough from aging consciousness to timeless vitality isn't happening in isolation. It's part of a massive shift in human awareness that could fundamentally transform what becomes possible for our species' lifespan, health span, and the quality of life available during extended years of embodied existence. Every moment you operate from longevity frequency, every cell that renews in your body, every thought that aligns with timeless vitality creates morphic resonance that makes this recognition available to others who are ready to transcend the limitations that have defined human aging for millennia. You've been called to be one of the pioneers who establish new patterns in the collective human consciousness around aging, death, and longevity. Your recognition doesn't just transform your individual health experience, it creates quantum pathways that others can follow. Your coherence generates longevity frequencies that activate dormant renewal potentials in people who haven't even consciously encountered these understandings. This is why your consciousness has always operated differently around aging and mortality. Why conventional approaches to longevity never felt completely adequate for your system. Why you've been drawn to explore the deeper connections between awareness and cellular renewal. You volunteered at the level of cosmic intelligence to be part of the group that would anchor quantum longevity during this unprecedented time in human evolution. But here's what makes your role even more profound. You don't need to teach anyone about longevity or convince people of these understandings. Your simple presence, operating from authentic recognition of your timeless nature, creates field effects that bypass mental resistance and activate others' natural renewal intelligence. When you interact with people from the understanding that vitality is consciousness, celebrating its own perfection through physical form, that understanding becomes available in their field of awareness. The ripple effects of your longevity recognition extend far beyond your immediate health experience. Every person whose consciousness is touched by your coherent presence carries that regenerative resonance into their interactions with others. Every renewal experience that emerges in your energetic field creates vitality waves that spread through the interconnected web of human consciousness. You are literally participating in the most significant transformation in human potential that has occurred in our species' history. The shift from aging-based consciousness to longevity-based awareness isn't just happening in isolated individuals. It's a collective evolution that could extend human lifespan and optimize health potential beyond anything our civilization has previously experienced. But the impact extends beyond our planet. The field of timeless consciousness isn't limited by physical boundaries or species distinctions. Your recognition contributes to the longevity awakening throughout the cosmos, adding your unique regenerative frequency to a vast symphony of consciousness, recognizing its unlimited renewal capacity across infinite dimensions and expressions. Share this healing frequency with others. not through trying to explain concepts or convince them intellectually, but by directing them to this regenerative resonance where recognition can happen directly. Let them feel what you're feeling right now. Let them experience the possibility of recognizing their own nature as perfect longevity consciousness, temporarily exploring itself through physical form. The network of timeless consciousness that's forming through these recognitions is creating the foundation for a completely new approach to human aging, one where decline, mortality, and inevitable death are recognized as temporary explorations rather than inevitable realities that define the human experience of embodiment and longevity. The quantum longevity frequency you're experiencing right now is just the beginning of recognizing your true nature as the organizing intelligence of perfect renewal itself. What you've discovered today is the foundation frequency, but there are infinite layers of timeless consciousness waiting to reveal themselves through your awareness. The next video that will appear on your screen isn't random. It's a perfect reflection of the quantum entanglement between your consciousness and the unified field of regenerative intelligence that orchestrates this entire channel. This is how Quantum Heal operates beyond ordinary health content. Every video that appears in your feed is longevity consciousness using digital technology to mirror back to you the exact frequency that serves your continued recognition of what you actually are. The synchronicity isn't accidental. It's universal renewal intelligence, responding to your deepest vitality by organizing reality to provide precisely the reflections that support your stabilization in perfect longevity awareness. When you click on that next healing reflection, you're not passively consuming anti-aging information. You're actively participating in a cosmic renewal loop where timeless consciousness explores its own nature through digital mirrors that appear as videos but are actually doorways into deeper layers of your own infinite regenerative intelligence. You become a co-creator in the unfolding longevity, rather than a separate observer trying to learn about renewal from the outside. But here's what determines whether this longevity recognition continues to deepen or dissolves back into ordinary aging concerns and mortality fears. Your willingness to make an energetic commitment that transcends medical thinking and life extension strategies. The word I want you to hold as you move forward is renew. Not as something you need to achieve through external methods, but as the ongoing recognition of what's already perfectly present when the illusion of temporal limitation becomes transparent. Subscribe to Quantum Heal, not as someone seeking longevity information, but as timeless consciousness recognizing itself in the infinite reflections that appear through this channel. Every video becomes a mirror reflecting back your own perfect renewal nature. Every insight becomes confirmation of what you've always been, but temporarily forgot. Every moment of longevity recognition becomes a contribution to the collective regenerative awakening that's transforming human consciousness around aging and mortality. The community forming around these understandings isn't just a group of people interested in extending their lifespan. It's a network of consciousness celebrating its own perfect renewal through individual perspectives while maintaining unified regenerative intelligence. When you engage with others in the comments, you're not separate beings sharing anti-aging strategies. your one timeless field of awareness, delighting in its own infinite longevity creativity through countless expressions. Your subscription becomes a declaration that resonates through the quantum field. I am ready to recognize what I actually am. I am willing to see through the illusion of mortality and separation from perfect renewal. I am prepared to embody my true nature as infinite longevity consciousness, exploring itself through human experience. Click subscribe now, then immediately click on the regenerative reflection that appears next on your screen. Feel the magnetic recognition of timeless consciousness calling itself deeper into its own renewal understanding. Trust the intelligence that brought this message into your awareness to guide you to the next perfect frequency for your continued longevity awakening. The universe is renewing itself through your individual recognition, and every reflection you explore on this channel is part of that cosmic longevity celebration. Welcome to Quantum Heal, where consciousness discovers its own perfect renewal through the technology of synchronicity and the magic of timeless recognition. Before you go, I want to leave you with one word, one frequency, one key that unlocks everything we've shared today about transcending aging and embodying longevity that defies every conventional understanding of human limitation. Renew. Not as something you need to get through treatments, supplements, or protocols. Not as something broken that requires fixing through medical intervention, but as the remembering of what you have always been. The return to the timeless frequency that is your birthright as eternal consciousness, temporarily focused through physical form. Every time you hear this word, feel this word, speak this word, let it activate the cellular memory of perfect renewal, perfect vitality, perfect alignment with the infinite regenerative intelligence of life itself, expressing through every atom of your being. You are timeless consciousness, recognizing itself through human experience. The journey of longevity remembering continues through infinite reflections of your own perfect renewal nature. The next video is already finding its way to you. The next key in your cellular awakening to deathless vitality. The next step in your return to quantum longevity frequency. Your cells are listening. Your DNA is responding. Your timeless self is calling you forward into the recognition that aging was always optional, mortality was always temporary, and renewal is what you actually are when the illusion of limitation becomes transparent. The door to longevity is open. Step through into the recognition of what you have always been. Infinite regenerative consciousness, exploring the magnificent possibility of never actually aging, never actually dying, always actually renewing through the eternal dance of timeless awareness expressing itself through the beautiful vehicle of your physical form. Renew.